Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Women's Advanced Bible Study night. Uh, it's every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, 4th of May, 2023. We'll be dealing with, in discussion, is the unforgettable woman, which is Abigail, later on in the class discussion. Okay, with that being said, and as everybody knows, you can go to our YouTube channel, which is Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos that's on the channel. I think it's something like 600 or more. And these videos will connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you are hearing and receiving through these videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening. Okay. So for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, Psalms, and then we do some current women's health. Then we do some current events and a little need to know information. Then we go into our Q&A segment. And then from there, we go to topic for discussion. Okay. So this moment of silence is for our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts, and our Creator, Yahweh, and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last final hours. Oh Lord, we come before Thee at this time, praising Thee and worshiping Thee, right? And we are thankful for the knowledge and understanding that You have given us up until this point. When we seek Thy face, that You shower us with peace and enlightenment in the sense of togetherness. Oh Lord, we see Thy hand in the affairs of the world, and we know and understand that what You have spoken in the past will surely come to pass. Turn not Thy face from us, but hearken unto this plea. Hearken, O Lord, and do. Peace be unto You. Okay. And with that being said, we're going to read the Psalms.
Shalom, everyone. Be reading Psalms 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. And now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me, and answer me. When thou saidest, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Lord, will I seek. Hide not thy face far from me. Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. Teach me thy way, O Lord, and lead me in a plain path because of mine enemies. Deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. I had fainted unless I had believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. That was Psalms 27.
Okay. You got a comments on it?
Um, Not really, to be honest.
Okay.
As a woman reading that, written by a man, I don't understand where he's coming from with that. Can you help break that down for me?
Okay, yeah. It's a Psalm of David, right? And so David being the king and understanding David relationship with the Lord from way back when he was a little boy, and then he brought him from a little boy to being a king, and then now they have they got temple, and the Lord of hosts dwells in that temple. So he's saying that every time we know the feast days, they got 3 feast days out of the year. He said, which they call them the Great Congregation. It's when all Israel come together. He said when that happens, he's going to be the main one in there, leading everybody with the praises, shouting out to the Lord, confessing all the things that He's done in front of them. So, like I was saying before about it's certain people, certain men of Israel that the Lord holds dealing with, they see Him. Everybody don't see Him, but they see Him. So He says, let me read it. 9, hide not thy face from me. See that? Put not that thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Let me not not to forsake me, oh God. So when they don't see him, they know something ain't done. And he had to face him, so they continuously looking for him. And when they see him, they know they good with him. So he says, let me get another one. 8, and thou said, seek my face. My heart said unto thee, thy face, Lord, will I seek. Then 7, hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. So they're not beholding his face, not seeing him, and then he not talking back to them. They know something ain't right. And we see an example of that when he told Moses to go down at the water when they struck the rock. He said, go down there. When you get there, I'll be already there, waiting on you, standing on the rock.
Right.
But the multitude of the congregation don't see him. Moses see him.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? And so they taking him because of that. Moses going, all these prophets and these men, they going through different changes because the other people ain't seeing them, but he dealing with them. And so they
Right.
taking him, they ticked him off. So he struck the rock out of anger, but they don't understand why. But they think he done it, not knowing that the Israel power is there too, but they just don't see it. So they constantly interchanging with him. And when he do come, the joy that they, the joy that they have. That's why David says he's going to be, praising him in the great congregation and praising him in his temple. Let me find it. You read it. I just read it. Let me find it. It says, in 5, for in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secrets of his tabernacle. That's the temple in Jerusalem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything on that?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So we go to women's health.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to talk about Pam spray. Is it safe or should we avoid it? You said something, Brother Leonard?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Okay. So tonight, I'm going to talk about Pam spray and is it safe or should we avoid it? Pam is a cooking spray currently owned and distributed by ConAgra Foods. Its main ingredient is canola oil. Pam was introduced to us in 1959 by Leon Rubin, who, with Arthur Meyerhoff, started Pam Products. to market the spray. The name PAM is an acronym for Product of Arthur Meyerhoff. PAM is marketed in various flavors such as butter, coconut oil, lemon, garlic, avocado oil, and olive oil, meant to impart the flavor of cooking with those ingredients. PAM also markets high temperature sprays formulated for use when grilling and one containing flour suitable for dry cooking, as in baking. PAM is marketed as a zero-calorie alternative to other oils used as lubricants when using cooking methods such as sautéing or baking. Cooking sprays such as PAM seem to provide the miracle of non-stick cooking, easy frying pan cleanup, and particularly no calories. PAM is virtually fat-free and according to its label, is also sodium and cholesterol-free. However, a further look into their ingredients reveals little to be excited about. The main ingredient in PAM cooking spray is canola oil. Canola oil is produced from the rapeseed plant, which has been genetically modified to be resistant to pests, herbicides, and weather. GMOs are notorious for causing a multitude of cancers and other life-threatening diseases. Some other ingredients in PAM are lecithin, which is an emulsifier and helps hold the ingredients together. Of additional concern are the propellants such as butane and propane. Cooking sprays typically contain hydrocarbons, which are highly flammable and should not be used near an open flame. When sprayed, the propellants evaporate into the air, leaving only the oil in the pan. Hydrocarbons are toxic to the environment and have been linked to the destruction of the Earth's natural protective ozone layer. There are several reasons to avoid using PAM cooking spray, from the potential risk of consuming GMOs and toxic chemicals to the negative impact on the earth. When you are ready to cook, pull out some good old-fashioned organic butter, or if you prefer the convenience of a spray, you can purchase a pump spray bottle and add your own organic olive oil. Tonight I'm going to read Proverbs chapter 31. It's going to be verses 26 through 31. The virtuous woman speaks wisdom. Okay, so Proverbs 31, starting with verse 26. She opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looked well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Verse 29, many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Verse 31, give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. That was Proverbs chapter 31, verses 26 through 31. And tonight's discussion was on PAM cooking spray.
Okay, so we appreciate that information. Anybody have any comments on it? Okay, then go to our current events.
She is the former ambassador to the U.S. for the African Union. One thing about Dr. Arikana is she's a firebird. She holds nothing back, and her tongue is a razor that has been cutting deep into the flesh of the West. She holds nothing back. She tells it as it is, and she takes no BS. When it comes to Africa, trust you me, she will speak the truth, and she will speak truth to power. And I suspect that this speech This speech really angered the West and was the beginning of the end of her term as the African Union ambassador to America.
It's easier for a company that's manufacturing the best ceramic tiles in Africa, in Egypt. That company sends its tiles to Italy, only for the Africans to turn around and buy the same tiles, 20, 30 times the cost. Why is it that we are not trading with each other? 1884, fast forward 2019, nothing has changed. The strategy that was put in place to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated remains alive and well.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Thank you very much for joining me on another episode of this videos where we get to discuss all matters Africa, African leaders, and African empowerment, and also just key figures that are standing up against oppression of Africa and encouraging Africans to rise up to the occasion and take up their place in the global map. My name is Ndiro Ganga. I am a business journalist by profession and also a digital content creator. You can catch me on my YouTube channel at Ndiro Ganga, where we discuss all matters diaspora, relocation to the continent, and also you can connect with me on social media at Ndiro Oganga across all platforms, that is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I am back here today because I bumped into a very interesting speech of Dr. Arikana Chigombori. She is one of the pioneer, and I can say without the fear of contradiction, she's one of the pioneering women that has been very vocal about standing up to the West. You know, she has gotten the agenda on a global platform. She's one of those key leaders who, when she speaks, you listen, because she speaks with conviction, she speaks from her heart, she knows the history, she knows the economy, she knows some of the atrocities that were committed against Africa, continue to be committed against Africa and Black people, and will even be committed in the future, because that's how future-centric she is, and that's how well-versed she is with the issues. She served as the African Union ambassador to America, and her term came to an end. And you know, she's always been very vocal about the position of the AU and what the AU should be able to do to sort of amass power and ensure that Africans can speak with one voice and in one accord as the global same. So I bumped into a very interesting speech of hers, and in this speech she holds nothing back. She's calling out the West, she's reading them film. So when I was in school, they taught us a lot about colonialism, the history of it, how it happened, and some of the impact that it had. But I don't even think that the curriculum understood the depths of colonialism and some of the impact that it had, not just on people, but on the continent. You know, you'll be taught about people were being kidnapped and sold as slaves. You'll be taught about trade. Actually, it's taught as trade. It's not taught as stealing of African resources, looting of African resources. It's taught as trade, for gold for clothes, gold for, you know, that is how we were taught about that history. And in listening to Dr. Arikana Chigombori, then you're like, wow, Africa really lost a lot when it came to colonialism, because she says it as it is. She says Europeans came to Africa and looted African resources.
The more I try to dig deeper in understanding as to why Africa is where Africa is today, I couldn't help but find myself repeatedly going back to the beginning to say, how did we end up where we are as Africans? How did we get here? Not only as Black people, but as Africans. The colonizers started coming to Africa, starting with the Portuguese, followed with slavery. But by 1884, after they had been haphazardly going into our continent, looting from the Africans, pretty soon they started looting from each other the loot that they had looted from the Africans. And before you know it, they were killing each other. And they were getting ready to have a war, a European war on the African soil. So Bismarck, the Chancellor of Germany at that time, called his sidekick Leopold, King Leopold of Belgium, said, listen, we got a problem. We're getting ready to kill each other and have a European war in Africa. Why don't we call all the colonizers? That was France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, and of course, mighty Britain. Let's all meet in Berlin, Germany, and strategize on how we can organize ourselves so we can effectively see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated.
And as if that was not enough, as if the exploitation of Africa back then was not enough, the West ensured that Africa will never be able to stand on its own by dividing Africa into very many tiny 52 countries. And by that, you took away the power. I want to take you back to a speech that Gaddafi made. This is not to excuse some of the shortcomings of Gaddafi, but Gaddafi was one of the African leaders, including Kwame Nkrumah, who was saying, why do we have so many African countries? Why can't Africa be one? Why can't Africa speak in one accord? Why is it that you're Rwandese, you're Ugandan, you're Tanzanian? Why are there borders separating us? Why do I need a visa? Those of you who are in Europe can tell us, for as long as you're European, you can go to many of those European countries without many restrictions being put on you, but that's not the same case in Africa. Crossing borders is not an easy thing. And that has curtailed a lot of things on the continent, you understand? And so in dividing Africa and making them so many different tiny sovereign states, you've taken away their power, you've taken away their voice. They can't speak in one accord, you know? It's Kenya speaking to Europe. It's not Africa speaking to Europe.
Okay. Any comments on that? Any comments on that? Yeah, so the reason I was showing that was I see a pattern going with this when it comes to this lady, Dr. Arikana. She goes, she comes, speaks, say a bunch of fiery words, go away, come back. Every time she come back, a lot of stuff start happening. Dealing with us and dealing with Africa. So she been disappeared for a while now. All of a sudden, this came up 9 hours ago. So, like I said, every time she show back up, all kind of stuff start happening on the continent and over here, pertaining to us.
Shalom. The stuff that's happening is good stuff that's happening. She's speaking out about it, and she's like stirring up trouble, or she's trying to solve a problem or a situation.
Well, it's not. From my understanding, we can use it. We can use Obama for example. Like I said, they got people that they already got in place. They already programmed, go around, set them up for what they need for them to do, and we as a group of people not understanding the power that we got, and by that I mean the Lord of hosts in heaven and the angels. We don't understand that. We don't understand, like I was saying, when they was in Egypt. And they cried, they knew who their God was, so they cried out to him. He came and showed up. We don't know who our God is. The average person today that came to be Israelite don't know who their God is. So they bring these people on the scene, fiery people talking all this good stuff to lead us off down where they want us to lead us to. Because we have lack of understanding of what's going on. So they come, like I said, they brought Obama on the scene. He came out of nowhere. He only did one term in the Senate or Congress, wherever he was at. And the next thing you know, he did that speech at the Democratic convention, and the next year, he's the president. And everybody flocking to listen to what he's saying. They've been leading us like that forever. So
you're saying it's a distraction?
Yeah, it's a distraction. But like I say, you got, when you start talking about the boule and all them, they use them to guide us where they want us to go. So they already have no part. They don't know the whole plan, but they know part of the plan. Like I was saying, Oprah Winfrey, Boulay, she 200% Boulay. Robert Johnson, all them, way back. They knew that the year, the decade of people of African descent was coming, which we're in the midst of now. End of this year will be the end of it. Then you had the year of people of African descent. That was 2011. Then all of a sudden, 2019 came with the 400 years prophecy they brought out and returning the gun and all that. They knew that. And Robert Johnson and Oprah Winfrey was already over there. They had been in Africa, setting it up because they already knew it was coming. So that's how they operate. And like I was, another thing I was looking at, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to offend nobody or nothing like that, but look at all those historical leaders back in the day. So they couldn't have a white woman. You had some white men probably could have tolerated it, but the masses, the southern people and all that, the rednecks, they weren't tolerating it. So they couldn't have no white woman. This ain't something that just started with Negroes trying to grab white women. It's been there, but back then they couldn't get them. So what they do, they got the closest thing to it. Look at all them wives. Come on. So that's how you gauge it. Like I said, with and some of these things you may not understand is from a man perspective, but another thing too was all the men I know, and I came up as an athlete. All the men I know, they don't wear their pants all up in they, always pulled up past their navel. To me, every time I seen that, he wasn't right. He's homosexual. So all these guys, and even with the crossing of the legs, you know what I'm saying? But that's for another conversation. But I always watch that kind of stuff, and real men, the men I know, I don't see that they don't do that. But white men do that. But Negroes I know, they don't do that.
They call it metrosexual up here.
Wow.
But it's another way of easing in that sort of lifestyle.
Right. And so you can they try to hide it, but they get, if you understand how it go, you can see what they ain't right. Because like I said, you don't see I don't know no brother I know that had his pants pulled all up in his ass and the belt and the belt tied up around over his navel. No, man, something ain't right. And that's what Martin Luther King did. On all his videos, all you do is look at it. Mm-hmm.
Shalom. Yes, sir. So what does the women part playing in all of this? Like Rebecca, in Rachel, in the women of the Bible. How can we say their role of helping and encouraging and taking a stand? Like Moses' wife, she went on ahead and circumcised their son, which Moses didn't. She took on her own to do so. So what does these women do in the Bible? I know we have a lot of leadership for the men, but what can we say and how we can help contribute to understanding from Eve to Sarah and so on, so on.
Well, when you get to those very women you're talking about, and look at what they've done, and they consider righteous and virtuous women. So you look at their roles. Like, for instance, Moses had a lot on his shoulders. A lot of stuff was going on with Moses when he brought the Israelites out of Egypt, and everything that was going on with that. And then people was murmuring and complaining about this and complaining about that. And like I said, he's dealing with the Lord of hosts. And when you understand who the Lord of hosts is, he ain't playing with you, driving you. He constantly driving you, putting you to the test, challenging you. So Moses had all this stuff going on, and he completely forgot all about the boy being circumcised. So what did Zipporah do? Help him. help them. Help me. She helped them.
Yes, sir. That's just like when Eve was brought to
Right.
be a helpmate. But I was wondering, how did the serpent look to Eve, and what made her go into the garden of into that certain area, and along with it, Adam was along with him. So I mean, I know how to say.
I got a couple more current events, then we'll dive into all that. Let me get a
Yes,
couple
sir.
more current
Thank you.
events. I'm gonna get right on it. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody know anything about this right here. It happened today. I mean, yeah, this morning, I think.
Another story we're following tonight is out of New York City. It involves a failed chokehold on a subway car. A witness says a man was acting erratically and threatening other riders when someone also in that car stepped in and restrained the man, putting the alleged attacker in a chokehold to restrain him even more. And eventually the man died after being taken to the hospital. So was this a case of someone protecting others, maybe even saving lives, or an out-of-control vigilante who caused a homicide? Valerie Castro has the latest, and we want to warn you, the video is disturbing.
Tonight, a deadly chokehold on the subway in New York, igniting a debate about when citizens should step into a volatile situation. A witness telling WNBC the 30-year-old man on the floor was acting desperate and aggressive, making people feel threatened before the incident. That's when a 24-year-old man stepped in and put him in this hold for minutes. Left unconscious, which is how police found him before taking him to a local hospital, where he was pronounced dead, according to the NYPD. There is no known video from before the incident, but the northbound F train in Manhattan was filled with strap hangers Monday afternoon, according to Alberto Vasquez, who reported the video. He says he noticed the 30-year-old board the train.
The man got on the subway car and began to say a somewhat aggressive speech, saying that he was hungry, he was thirsty, and that he didn't care about anything. He didn't care about going to jail. He didn't care if he gets a big life sentence, that it didn't even matter if he died.
Vasquez says the rider's actions worried, even scared him, wondering if the man could be armed. He believes others around him were also in fear. New Yorkers grappling with whether the man who put him in the chokehold is a hero or a vigilante.
I found it to be disheartening.
Do you think if he had not passed away, someone might have hailed this person as a hero for intervening in a situation like that?
I do. Yeah, because, the trains are a scary time right now. And sometimes you need to step up.
But if he put him in a chokehold for more than 15 minutes, that's not self-defense anymore. That's just murder.
A group of protesters today calling for the man who intervened to be arrested.
Make them know they're wrong.
A former chief of department at the NYPD says people have the right to defend themselves and others.
You have a right to take action. As an individual, that can prevent someone from being assaulted.
The witness Vasquez telling WNBC the hold went on for about 15 minutes, adding it didn't appear at the time that the intervention was life-threatening.
We never thought he was in a situation where he was going to die.
For 15
because
minutes?
at that moment, we surely would have intervened to try to get this person to let him go.
Police say the 24-year-old was questioned and later released. The city's medical examiner determining the death was caused by the chokehold. Police haven't identified either individual, but WNBC reached out to the 24-year-old and he declined to comment. The incident striking a chord with New Yorkers who deal with tense situations on the subway often.
I think the cops are getting a bad rap because they're not the ones that should be helping out with mental patients, people that are mentally impaired.
The late man's friend recalling his struggles.
The thing that he was guilty of mental issues, and he was guilty of being homeless.
All right, Valerie Castro joins Top Story tonight from outside the subway there in NoHo. So, Valerie, I guess my first question is, who exactly were the demonstrators that were upset that this incident had happened?
Well, Tom, these were local activists who say they really want to see more happen in this case. They took issue with the fact that the 24-year-old was questioned and released. They really want to see an arrest in this case.
Okay. Anybody heard anything about that? Any comments?
I hadn't heard anything about it, but when you think about it, they're creating an environment by which people are going to do this more and more. By the issues with the guns, You know, they do nothing, they say nothing other than, prayers and for the family and stuff like that. They're creating an environment for this type of behavior to be done because everybody's afraid now. We had an incident here in Atlanta. A guy shot and killed shot and killed one woman and hurt four others, going into a hospital for in an outpatient area. I mean, you're going to have people are going to react, and they're going to take the law in their own hands. It's going to create these kind of situations where people are going to act where everybody's doing everything and just disregarding the law. They're creating this mayhem by doing nothing with the guns and stuff. At least
Right.
that's my opinion.
Like January 6th is an example of that.
It's almost as if they want this type of mayhem.
Right.
That's why they're perpetuating it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. I have a little comment on that. I did see the video, right? So not only was he placed in a chokehold for 15 minutes, but there was another guy there too that was holding him down. So the thing is, when you're in New York, I'm pretty sure this is not the first incident. Like they're surprised somebody's on the subway in New York acting a donkey, right? But
Right.
it's the point of putting him in a chokehold for 15 minutes.
Right.
It doesn't show how aggressive he was before that, if he was going to harm anybody or whatever. And there are thousands of, people with mental problems running around in New York that people just pass by every day and do nothing to. So what is it that this guy really did to someone else or threaten someone else that this guy had to put him in a chokehold for 15 minutes? And I just think that there was something else that could have been done if he was going to cause harm to somebody else besides that.
Well, I think that sometimes when, there's this idea of who the homeless are, that they're less than human and don't deserve
Right.
any kind of rights or any type of consideration. And if they, if they do happen to have mental illness and they're acting a little bit bizarre or threatening in some manner, you gotta, you can look at that two ways. I mean, when do you take the chance that this person is just maybe acting bizarre and it's not going to hurt you, and you take action? But the thing I have a problem with is when they take these exceptions like this and put it out there in front of everybody as if that's now going to be the standard.
Right. That's going to be the norm.
Right.
Like I was saying earlier about the things I know about being a man and all that. If you go back, all the mass murderers predominantly was white. So the white man, when he got mental conditions, he gonna go shoot up a whole bunch of folks or start raping women and killing folks. Most black men, that mentally challenged and all that, they ain't gonna bust a grape. You'll see them standing around by the grocery store or by the liquor store. They may be talking to themselves and all that. And then to me, that's not threatening because we know that's our culture. We know, we see that all the time. They ain't doing nothing. They ain't plotting up no mass murder scheme.
But that's what I mean when they go ahead.
And so he jumps up and when you go back and look at the screen, the video, he got to get like you said, one guy got him down by his waist, and the other guy that choking him, you can have a person contain them and have them wrapped up, but he pulling back on it only. He got a choke all on him, but he pulling back. So that means he cutting his eye off. Yeah. He ain't just got him contained and with his arms wrapped around him. He got his arms wrapped around his throat and he pulling back, choking him. So you can't do that to somebody for no 15 minutes. They ain't gonna make it.
Right, but that's that they are already, he already got 3 strikes against him though. They perceive him as less than human because he's homeless, and and just the fact that he's begging or acting bizarre, they feel like they have a right to treat him that way. Right. And they were probably a little bit zealous in their apprehension of him. But like I said, they get lauded as a hero because they took out this dangerous person. But then, like I said, they already see us that way. And the fact that he's homeless and acting bizarre, then they feel like they have a license to do whatever they want to do.
They want to do to him.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, just stop and think about it. I guarantee you, everybody seeing that dude on a regular basis. He hung around there, so they know he ain't. How can it be threatening if you come by there every week and he's doing that? All he doing is talking to himself, or might be talking out loud or whatever. But he ain't never made no aggressive move toward nobody. You see that all the time in the hood, and they ain't threatening to me.
But remember, they said he was in Manhattan.
Yeah, it's threatening to them. Yeah, hell, you can come out of there with a 3-piece suit on out of Walmart, and you can hear the doors locking. That's threatening to them, you know. But they ain't threatening to me. Just to see a black man is threatening. So that ain't no, that ain't hitting on nothing. Yeah.
Right. It goes back to them being afraid of us. That's all it is. They were just afraid and they want to let them go.
Right.
Because you can contain someone without killing them.
Exactly.
So
That's it. You pulling back.
All about fear.
Right. And then he got issues already too. Because like I said, you got the man contained. Why you drawing back? You squeezing him and tightening up on his throat and pulling back on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you cutting his airway off. Yeah.
And it seems so. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
No, go ahead.
It seems so bizarre because they know they have the body cam. We're seeing the body cam, and they're still doing it, knowing they're being videoed.
Right.
So that's that. That's excuse me. The Canaanite spirit. They're in it. They're revved up about killing. Although you talk about fear is there too because they are humans. But they rev up with the hatred, because if you're like Brother Leonard said, you pulling back 15 minutes on some way, knowing, and they learn and they train the different chokeholds and all of those things that they are allowed or not allowed to do, and then they still do it. There's something above just what you see. It's more than just that, because he's deliberately trying to kill him on video.
Well, he saw him as less than human, so he felt justified in doing that. He's young himself, and full of adrenaline and all of that. And so, but the first thing he saw was a black man acting crazy, and he felt the license. He's homeless. Nobody probably cares about him. Nobody will miss him. So he felt okay with abusing him, and nobody said nothing about it.
Right.
Because 15 minutes is a long time.
And they'll say he was afraid for his safety.
Shalom. Yes, just like it brings me back to George Floyd. Just him holding him down, and being that it was nationwide, all over different countries, about how he held his knee and pressed his hand in his pocket to actually hold down on his neck. This young man pulls the person back and holds him there, knowing that more than 10 minutes is a bad thing. So he held him. If someone wouldn't have stopped it, he could have held him longer.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Right. And like I said, it's hidden anger and all that involved in it. Racism, how they feel about blacks, like she's saying, they already got us tagged as not human, subhuman, and they're looking at everything. Anger is included in it. Yeah. So here goes a little need to know information. Here goes some need to know information. Somebody has something?
No, sir.
Yeah, so you had this. I was telling you about how they preparing. We not understanding what's going on. Check this out right here. What China's doing in Africa. And you tell me if they don't know something that we don't know.
China's insane house building technology will change everything. As part of a program to build inexpensive housing, it was claimed in November 2019 that China has constructed 20,000 dwellings in 3 days in Africa. In this video, we'll tell you about China's incredible housing construction technology, which has transformed many aspects of life in Africa. How in the world would you ever try to build a single house in just 3 days? It is not polite to respond with, "That's crazy," or "It's not possible." However, China has perfected a bizarre home construction method that enables the construction of 20,000 homes in just 3 days. Will this provide a solution to the struggling housing market? In order to honor the accomplishment of constructing 20,000 homes in Africa in just 3 days and enabling the homeless to move into new residences as soon as possible, tens of thousands of Chinese citizens gathered. According to what we know, South Africa has just begun its first and largest large-scale urban project with this new city project. It will cost $300 million to build and will be situated on a plot of land measuring 497.22 hectares. Local Africans were taken aback by how swiftly China developed. But as far as we are aware, South Africa has the best economy in the entire globe. In actuality, the lack of housing in South Africa has a significant negative impact on the country's economy. Currently, Africa as a whole is making significant efforts to urbanize, with 472 million people residing in urban areas on the continent. Africa's cities and towns are already incredibly crowded. Why then is the lack of housing in South Africa such a major issue? There are over 60 million people residing in South Africa, which is the southernmost country in Africa. In reality, South Africa has the second largest economy in Africa behind Nigeria. The standard of living is greater in South Africa than it is in other parts of Africa, which was once a British colony. But there is still too much of a gap between the wealthy and the poor, and life is still quite difficult for people at the bottom of the social scale. There are still a lot of individuals living without homes in South Africa because they cannot afford to rent expensive properties. Despite the fact that 3 million homes have been built there since 1994, 14% of the population in South Africa is still homeless and living on the streets, according to statistics. From other cities, about 100,000 individuals relocate to Johannesburg annually. There aren't enough homes for infrastructure employees to reside in. Not even in Gauteng, South Africa, player in infrastructure.
Okay, so what you think about that?
I'm insulted. I'm insulted because, first of all, what is the information they're not telling us? It's as if to imply that they don't have the means to do it themselves. That's because they prevent them from doing it. These people could have, I mean, the pictures that I've always seen before I start seeing real pictures is they put them in these sub housing worse than the ones that we lived in the South during slavery. They keep them in these slums and prevent them from being able to do anything. Apartheid has been only over with, 30-something years? And then what did they do to allow the people themselves to pull themselves up by the bootstrap like they always want to tell us to do? They didn't. But how can another country come across the water and do something the people can't do themselves? You're implying that they can't. No, you prevent them from doing it. And if you're building all these houses, who owns the houses? Are you giving it to the people? Are you giving them the ability to be able to have their own home ownership? Or is another way to enslave them and hold them beholden to you for their homes?
Right. My point is that why all of a sudden now you opening up doing all this, but forever you kept the people that's in America in the dark about what was going on in Africa, and the people in Africa in the dark on what's going on with us. And now all of a sudden all these doors being open, this information being revealed to us. Like I said, people like Dr. Al Khan and all these people coming on the scene, and all the things you see these presidents over in Africa doing now all of a sudden. So it's all plotted. just playing out a plane they got.
What do you think the plan is?
This place over here gonna be desolate. They already told you 90-some% of the population of the world gonna be in Africa by starting at 2030. So that's why China is over there doing what they're doing, building all these houses. Then it's gonna be a mass migration real soon.
Not for the benefit of the people that live there.
No, it ain't for the benefit of people. It's just that that's where they want everybody at, because of like when you go back to Cain and understand who Cain is and who Cain's descendants are. He said the curse of Cain was that he was gonna pillage the earth. They didn't pillage the earth. The earth ain't it's not. They pretty much done away with a lot of the resources on the planet. It's just that Africa was so abundant and blessed so much because of he did all that for Adam. That's why that place is so rich. So everywhere else they've been, they didn't deplete their resources. So they know that everybody gonna migrate to where the resources is. That's what's going on. They already know that. They 25, 50 years ahead of us. Understand things that's gonna happen. To be like I was saying, when they relocated, they knew America was going down. So way back in the 80s, late 80s, they started migrating to China. China didn't just all of a sudden started rising. They went there and encouraged it. All the factories, which you go back to Luciferians and Luciferian worship, all those companies like Caterpillar, DuPont, all them was behind Hitler. They brought Hitler on the scene. So all those same companies left here in the 80s, went to China. That's how China raised up. Like he just said, they built 200,000 houses in 3 days. Who you think behind it? Caterpillar. All those same companies that during the World War II manufactured all those bombs and all that in America to cause America to win the war. They're all working together. They're Luciferians. Yeah, and they directing the world where they want the mass of the people where they want them to go to, using puppets. Like I said, with Obama. They brought him in.
Yes, sir. I do. I'm looking at it as this. We did discuss China going to ports, trying to get as much seaports that they can. Then the airstrip in Africa, saying that they do not owe them, but they owe them. Now, they also went in with the Christian way of giving them the help and talking with them. Now here it is building these buildings for them in 3 days. Is that an area where earthquakes may become or what? But then also my question is, Rwanda. I mean, there are places, just like you showed us or told us about when we look at the Black Panther and he was talking about the documentary of it. They are showing desolate places in Africa, saying that China is going to build these houses for these people in Africa, but Africa is rich. I mean, you got Rwanda, that's a thriving place. Ghana is a thriving place. So what, again, like my question is, what makes China want to come in and help out? So, exploit it now when, they could have done that years ago.
Well, right. So let's go back to what, like I was saying about prophecy. They and that's how ignorant they are. They disregard the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that everything been prophesied. Well, he already told us that at the very end, he got two countries reserved to close out the end of the fourth beast, Russia and China. So it go back to what he call a Moab. There's a time appointed. Just like when Daniel, in the book of Daniel, Gabriel came and told him the time appointed for Israel to come to end is upon you. Antioch Epiphanes came. There's a Moab. Cyrus came. It was a time appointed. These two, when you understand who Russia and China is, that's the two nations he had reserved for the end, to bring the four beasts to an end. That's the reason they coming on the scene now when they coming on the scene. But none of that is in, like I was saying, none of that is in the scriptures. It's in Second Ezra. They didn't create their own end time scenario when you go to Revelations. We was looking at that. He was talking about that, how Revelation chapter 12, and it talks about, let me read it. So it says in Revelation chapter 12, let's get it right quick. It says, chapter 12, it says, verse 1, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head was a crown of 12 stars. That's the nation of Israel. If we go back to Daniel dream, Joseph dream. He said he dreamed that 11 stars bowed down to him. To the one star. And then he said, including his father, Jacob, and his mother, they bowed down to him, and that troubled Jacob. But that's a dream. So this right here, these 12 stars, the 12 tribes of Israel. But keep going. It says, and she being with child, cried and travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. So from their perspective, from the Revelations, they're saying that that's Israel, and that the woman that's in pain, travailing is Israel, Jesus Christ. Verse 2, Jesus Christ is a child. And she being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. So saying that 78 is the four Roman Empire came on the scene. Then in 70 AD, JC came on the scene at the beginning of the first century, died, and then, he the child that the woman getting ready to have birth with. That's where the birth pain coming from. But where they messed up at, when you go to verse 3, there appeared a wonder in heaven, and behold, a great dragon having 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them down to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour a child as soon as they were. So that brings in JC, when he was born and all that. They were trying to kill the little children, then finally eventually crucified him. But if you go to verse 3, it says, there appeared a wonder in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns. So that takes you to Daniel. Go to Daniel right quick, right? So go to Daniel chapter 7, right? And it says, verse 19, back to I told you about this Moab. The Moab is a time appointed. Gabriel telling him what's going to happen. And it says, then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, his nails of brass, which devour and break into pieces and stomp the residue with his feet. And the 10 horns, see that? The 10 horns that were in his head, and one of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, that's Constantine. Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose looks were more stout than his fellows, I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them until the ancient of days came. Judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came, that's the time appointed, the time came that the saints possess the kingdom. Thus said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth. So we see right here, this 4th beast which already in Cain got the 10 horns, 7 heads, right? But if you go back to Revelation chapter 10, chapter 12, it says in verse 7, and there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels, right, fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels and prevailed not, neither were there any place found anymore in heaven. So when did that happen? When Michael and Satan had a fight. Michael angels and Satan angels had a fight. Has that already happened?
Yes, sir.
That happened before Genesis 1:1, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's not, you know, they grabbing bits and pieces from different places, but that's not no prophecy. Because of what I just read in chapter 12, if you rightly divide it, it says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head was a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child, and she being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. So now let's look at who this child is. When you rightly divide it. So you go to Isaiah, right? You go to Isaiah chapter 66. Chapter 66, right? Start at verse 5. It's the Lord of hosts talking. Hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you cast you out for my name's sake, and say, let the Lord be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. Now here we go. 6, a voice of noise from the temple. It's the Lord of hosts' voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that renders recompense to his enemy. Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pains came, she was delivered of a man child. That's David. He already promised David he's going to resurrect. He's going to be resurrected. So when is this happen? This ain't happened yet. This is what Daniel talking about. The 4 beasts, at the end of the 4 beasts, that's got 10 heads and 7 horns. They ain't talking about what the way was he talking about over there when he said the dragon got cast out. And the dragon got cast out way in the beginning. When he brought drama up in heaven. And Michael, being the Lord of hosts, cast him out with his angels, cast him and his angels out of heaven. So they would have got away with that if they wouldn't have put the dragon with the 7 heads, the 10 heads and the 7 heads and the 10 crowns. They could have got away with it, but when they put that in there, you see, they're all over the place. This is the woman right here in Isaiah 66. That ain't happened yet. He's going to raise, in Ezekiel 37, he's going to raise the whole house of Israel up. That's the woman. But before he do that, he's going to raise David up, the man child. Then verse 8 says, who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Shall a nation be born at once? What nation? He tell you in Ezekiel 37. This the whole house of Israel. He raised them up in one day. All of them bones brought their sinew flesh back on them and raised them up. He said they all stood on their feet. That ain't happened yet. So all that's garbage in Revelation. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay, yeah. So somebody got something?
No, I was going to say no, sir, no comment.
Yeah. So we had current events. Anybody got something? You was talking about something earlier in Garden of Eden or something?
Yes, sir. I was wanting to know about the women's role in when we go back to the beginning with Eve and how Eve was in the garden. What made her be, not afraid of the serpent, and how did the serpent appear to her
Okay.
in the Garden of Eden?
You went out.
Okay, I'm sorry. All the creatures that were in the Garden of Eden, the birds and cattle and all those, then she saw the serpent. Was the serpent talking made her go towards him, or how did that happen? And why was she afraid to speak? And were the animals talking at that time? And I mean, what made her not be afraid of a serpent speaking?
Well, if you bring all the information together, that what happened is you see how those angels in the book of Adam and Eve, they appeared as angels of light. They showed themselves as they showed themselves as in a light. Like now, all of the pastors and most of these pastors and preachers they got secret oaths. Tied to the Illuminati and tied to Luciferianism and all that, but they show up with suits on and appear to us as righteous men. And so these angels have the ability to they do even greater than that. They show themselves as angels of light, as righteous angels. And we see that in like I said in the book of Adam and Eve. After you see all the things that first of all you got to understand that Adam and Eve were born. They weren't born through a womb and had a childhood and teen. They were born grown, but they was naive. They it's just like a newborn baby or a 3-year-old baby. Never been out the house, and then you let him go outside the yard. He don't know nothing about what's outside in the yard. So they was created. So it's a lot of things they ain't know nothing about.
Would it be safe to say
that put them in the garden? So they was. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You finish first.
No, I'm finished.
I was just gonna say, would it be safe to say he just really beguiled her? Because I think in the Old Testament it says that they were told to fear it, but he presented himself to her in a way that she would not be afraid. Like the metaphor they used with the apple, that it did look good for paraphrasing, and it was good to eat. So he beguiled her and appeared to her as in a way that she would not be afraid, and was being able to convince her to do what it was he did.
Right. So another way to look at that too is, like I was saying before, go back to if you never saw it, look at Grand Stoke Dracula, right? And notice that he got these fangs. He talking to the woman, moving all up on her. And she don't know him from Adam and Eve, but he got a lure on him. He got a lure, some kind of because he's supernatural being. He got some kind of lure on her and then he causing her not to see him for what he really is, because he biting on her neck. If you go to watch a movie, he biting out on her neck and all that, but she don't see all that. He got a lure on her, but like the Bible say, he hissing. And then she said he beguiled her. He a supernatural being, and here she is a creature that the Most High them created, and she don't. And then not only that, she's naive. Just like Adam was. They was naive. They was like full grown kids. They wasn't raised. They didn't go through no childhood or teenager and all that. They were full grown humans. So it's those, and which is in righteousness. They had a righteous spirit, full grown. They ain't know nothing about somebody coming and beguiling them or telling them one thing and doing something else. And that's how you played them.
So, question. So, the serpent appeared to Eve as a man.
Right.
A certain type of man.
Right. Well, yeah, you got to look at the fact that look what Michael and the other angels doing. When they came in Genesis 18, they showed themselves as men. These fallen angels ain't doing nothing no different. They had ability to shape shift and do everything else. And when you go to an extended version, more information on that, which is in the book of Adam and Eve. He shape shift and did all kind of things, came to Adam all kind of ways. And so Adam told Seth, when Cain killed Abel, and then Adam had another son, Seth. He told him, ain't nobody else here. So if some man come to you or some woman come to you and say they came from somewhere, this and that, it's him. And Adam told him that he able to do all this stuff to change. He able to transform himself and shape shift. If you see anybody coming to you talking to you, it's him. Don't fall for that. So Adam had learned. Like I said, he didn't have no childhood, but he had played him so many times. Adam had figured it out, and he chose Seth. And so in another account, in the book of Bartholomew, which is one of the apostles, they get the information from the original stories and putting them over these other books. So he said, he told, no, this was in the book of Adam and Eve. He seized him. Michael came when he was trying to beguile Seth, and Michael seized him and told him, show Seth your original countenance, your original appearance. And so, just like Cain had been changed, when Cain sinned, before Satan was cast out, he was changed. We know how he looked. They describe him in Ezekiel and in Isaiah, how he looked, how beautiful he was. But before he got cast out, he was changed. He was cursed, like Cain got cursed. And so he seized him and told him, show him how you really look. And then he showed him. He's a hideous looking beast, a serpent. But he don't never come to you looking like that. He come every kind of other way but that way. And so you see that when all the names he got, the serpent, the dragon, all these different names, guess what? He can shapeshift into those things. Yeah, right. But you gotta, go ahead.
And I don't, yes, sir. I don't want to like dig too deep, but you have Eve that came from a righteous man, right? And right. They are in the garden. So to me, when the serpent did shapeshift, he couldn't appear to Eve as just any old man, and Adam was not around. So to get Eve's attention, I can be wrong. I'm looking at this, in a certain type of way. To me, he appeared to her to make her feel as though he was Adam. Why would she, just knowing it's her and Adam in this garden, and all of a sudden, Gerald Levert shows up and she ends up sleeping with, another man. That, like, it's just not making any sense to me. So right. To me,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So to me, when the serpent shapeshift, it had to be someone that she was familiar with.
Right. So go back to the Book of Enoch and those 200 angels. What were they showing the people? What was they doing? They were showing them how to put spells on people, how to put runes and all that. You got to consider all that. Like I was saying, look at what Count Dracula do with the women. They don't want him. He got a lure on him, but he put them in a trance-like state and hoodwink them. So if you go to that one scene, which is profound, he's okay. I don't know if you know anything about in Islam. They got this creature, which is it's got to be Lucifer, but he's a hairy beast. He's a hairy beast with piercing blue eyes, red hair. Go back to Esau, but he's a hairy beast with red hair, piercing blue eyes, and he got these supernatural abilities. to hypnotize. That's the word I was looking for. Hypnotize and put a hypnotize on the woman. And so, and then she see him in the movie with Dracula. The other girl in the window see her out in the garden. They in the garden inside his castle. She looking out the window. She see a hairy beast got on top of the table, humping on her. She see him for what he is. But the girl, when she came out there and he put that hypnotizer, she see him as a handsome man. But the woman up there that he ain't put that trick on, she looking at him, she sees the hairy beast over the woman. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So those are supernatural. That's what angels capable of doing to a man, like humans. So she see him as she thinks she having a whirlwind sex romance with a man, attractive man. But he actually, that hideous beast that the Lord Michael made him show self. What he really had got changed into after he sinned against the Lord of hosts in heaven and against Yahweh. So he able to make you, like she said, he beguiled me. All that's included in that. Yeah. And we see the other angels doing the same thing.
Right. Yes, sir.
Right. Like for example, when we was looking at like I said, in the book of Adam and Eve, they came up out the water, and to fool Adam's sinners off the top of that mountain, off the top of that plateau. Some of them showed themselves as men, some of them showed themselves as women, some of them showed themselves as children, and then Samuel told them, "We coming from another world. We got children just like you do." But the women they seen in the children is other angels, other fallen angels. But they shapeshift, making it look like they got a family going on. To try to lure Jared off of the mountain, and Jared was the leader. To try to lure Jared down there where they at, get him off of that mountain. And that's all they've been doing since the beginning of time, is hoodwinking people, and they are deceptive, and they have all the characteristics to deceive you.
Right.
That's you got to look at the Old and New Testament. That's they doing. Look how they
so.
Huh?
I say very much so.
Yeah, look how they hoodwinked that. Like I just showed you about the woman with the 12 stars. It sounds good, like that's it, but they ain't Israel. Them people over there in the land of Israel, not Israelites, and Jesus ain't the Messiah. But it sounds good. It look good if you don't know nothing else. It's just flowing all together. Yeah.
Right. So in Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, right? The temptation, right? It says, "Now the serpent was more subtle," right?
Right.
So it's saying serpent, because yes, that's what it was, but Eve was in a trance, so, or whatever you want to call it. So therefore, she did not see him as the serpent.
Well, no, she said, so let's look at that.
Okay.
We're in Genesis chapter 3, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's look at what it says. And you can see what I'm talking about. So it says, okay, verse 3. But the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So this fruit that he got is knowledge, because he's the tree of knowledge and good and evil.
Right.
But it's wicked ass knowledge I told you about. So 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For God doeth know that in the day that ye eat thereof, that eat the knowledge, listen to him, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, lowercase, Els, Elohim, as angels, knowing good and evil. Now here go how you rightly divided. Verse 6. When she saw that it was a tree, when she saw that the tree was good for food, that's the knowledge, and that it was pleasant to the eyes. See that? he not unattracted to her.
Right.
See that? Pleasant to the eyes, to make one wise. She took the fruit thereof, did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. Now 7, and the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they was naked. So let's go back up. Verse 3. But the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, that's his knowledge. This Lucifer, Samuel, the tree of knowledge, and good and evil. He know evil and good. That's why he was cast out of heaven. So it says, God has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And then the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. God doeth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open. You shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired. See all that? To make one wise, she took the fruit thereof, right? And did eat, gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. So this is my point. I read all that, but look what verse 7 says. And the eyes of both of them were open, right? And they knew that they was naked. So you got to tie the eyes being open and they knowing they're naked to whatever they talk about from in verse 3 to verse 6. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So what is the fruit of the tree? Now it's tied to forbidden knowledge, forbidden for so he says, but the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat of it. So that's talking to him, his knowledge he got. That's the eating part. But you can't eat of it, neither shall you touch it.
Right.
That's the sexual part of it.
That's the right. Don't
lie
with it either. Yeah.
Right. Then he wants to that's what his intention is, to lie with her. So he says, the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die. You know she ain't gonna die, because all they gonna do is do the nasty. She ain't gonna die. Then verse 5 says, God do know that in the day that you eat thereof, your eyes shall be open. So there it is again. You gonna listen to this knowledge and get it, then you're gonna make contact, and then now your eyes gonna be open. See that? Because it's unlawful sex. She already got her husband. So he said, and she shall be, you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And now here go what happened. You can see it ain't no apple. When the woman saw, she looking at him, and we know he's the most beautiful thing the Most High created. When the woman saw that the tree, him, was good for food, conversation, and that he was pleasant to the eyes. There go the sexual part of it. Here go the sexual connotation, and a tree to be desired. Like I said, when the last time you sit out there looking at a tree, desiring a tree, Google eyed looking at a tree.
Right.
And then he says, a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took the fruit thereof, did eat, gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. Then now here you go. We know what they done. The eyes of both of them were open, right? Then they knew they was naked. So like I said before, you get any woman or girl that's a virgin, don't know nothing about no sex, and then you have sex with them, and ain't the same no more. It's a different woman.
Yes, sir. May I ask a question here?
Go ahead.
Right there in verse 6, the last, I'll say, last part of the paragraph, it mentioned that he gave also unto her husband with her, meaning that he was standing there with her.
Exactly. Right.
So he noticed the act that happened, and then she turned to him, and then they proceeded to do the act.
Right.
Is that
right?
So? Being that Cain was first from Satan, or from the serpent, and then Abel was second. So when he's okay, I'm sorry, I'm going a little too fast to blame Eve for having shown him how to do intercourse.
No, she's not showing him how to do intercourse. First of all, you got to go back to chapter 2:21.
Yes, sir. I'm
Okay,
here.
this the making of the woman, right? It's the making of the woman. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, right? Just like anesthesia. And he slept. And he took one of the ribs, closed up the flesh that instead thereof, and the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman. And now he brought the woman to the man, right? Now 23. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Now here goes the sexual encounter with Adam and Eve right here. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall, somebody got their thing open. So therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. See that? So a man and woman come together one flesh. What they doing?
They intermarried. I mean, they married into. I overlooked at that verse.
That's sex. That's having sex right here. He brought the
Yes,
woman
sir.
to her. Adam consummated it. That's the only way she can be his wife. That's how you wasn't no city hall or no marriage papers back then. When you consummated the relationship, you went into the woman.
Right.
So this is lawful right here. This is lawful. So he went into her and she became his wife. And now look what 25 say. They were both naked. They just consummated a relationship. And they were both naked, right? The man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. So this ain't the same thing happened over here. After she dealt with the serpent, because that was unlawful sex. And so so we go look at the punishment, right? Let's look at the punishment. So he says, verse 16 of chapter 3, this the punishment. It's going to take you back to what I'm showing you. Chapter 3, verse 16. And the woman said, I will, say unto the woman, this is the Lord of hosts, unto the woman, this is a punishment. Unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow shall I bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband. Right? So we saw over there they got married when they consummated the relationship. He said, your desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So what desire? Go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. You there?
Yes, sir.
When the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes, she already got a husband, right? She already got a husband. Adam already consummated a relationship. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and that it was pleasant to the eyes, a tree to be desired. They go to desire. Right there, he's talking about. No, he said, now your desire gonna be towards your husband. You ain't gonna be nowhere looking Google-eyed at nobody else like you did right here. It's to your husband, and not only that, he's gonna rule over you. So why is he saying rule over you? Right here. She got the knowledge from Adam. She got the knowledge from the serpent, and she took the fruit there of the knowledge and he gave it to her husband with her, and he did eat. He took the knowledge too. So he said, not now, because of that desire you had and what happened. Now that desire gonna be towards your husband, and he gonna rule over you. All because of verse 6.
Yes, sir. So by them married into each other and having consummated their marriage, they were unknown of how it was. So when they ate of the fruit or received the knowledge, then they realized the act. Now they know having sex is what they did, and because they was unaware of all those things, even though they did have sex. And when she had the sex with the serpent, when the serpent beguiled her, and Adam stood up there watching,
right.
Then he said, that's what we did. This woman in 7 and 8, now he realized that's what they were doing. So prior to their opening their eyes and having the knowledge of everything that's going on around them. They had sex. They were just knowing they wasn't naked. They didn't think about nakedness. They didn't think about how the act of sex is. Okay, I'm following you now. Thank you.
Right. So to go even further than that, go look at the fact that the fallen angels, the 200 angels came down. They made a pact on Mount Hermon, right?
Yes, sir.
They made the pact on Mount Hermon. They haven't went through the act yet. They still good. They can ascend and descend all that. It's when they went into the woman. Then they realized they couldn't ascend no more. So right here, when you understand what this fruit is that Adam and Eve got, it's the knowledge. Eve even got it. She defiled. So Adam ain't got it. But Adam went into her after that. Now Adam defiled. That's why he's telling them over here in 17, 3 and 17. And under Adam he said, because thou hearken unto the voice of thy wife and hast eaten. See that? Took the fruit. That, of which I commanded thee, saying thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. Sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So why is he telling them that? He a tiller of the ground. You didn't fumble with your very existence. Why I created you. When you filed, she was defiled. After you was right there with what the serpent did. But you came right behind him and defiled yourself. It's no different than what the angels did. Long as they was plotting and scheming all they want, but long as they hadn't went through the act, they was good. But once they slept with those women, they couldn't ascend no more in the heaven. That's the reason why the serpent was cast out of heaven. Because once he got sin on him, then his eyes is open. He's different than the rest of the angels. He didn't actually perform the sinful act. So that's why he had to get kicked out. And the same thing right there is no different than what the fallen angels done than what happened right there. The same thing.
Yes, sir. I also want to ask one question about the seventh day, which means 1,000 years. Within that 1,000-year time, the 6 man and male and female that went to be fruitful and multiply, it was 1,000 years prior to the 8th day that they populated the earth.
Each day is 1,000 years. So the man and the woman, that man and woman that was created on the 6th day, right?
Yes, sir.
So 1,000 years passed. Then they kept a Shabbat, the 7th day. That's 2,000 years.
Yes, sir. So they populated the earth.
Yeah, they populated.
That's when Cain. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
That's why when you go to chapter 4, verse 16.
Got it.
And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife. That's where he got his wife. These people that had multiplied for 2,000 years.
Yes, sir. So the fallen angels, the 200 angels that went into those people that were populating. So how did they look? I mean, giants, and then having male animals that were half man, half horse, those creatures. So they were walking amongst them also during Cain's time. I mean, Adam.
Right. Those creatures that you're talking about was the reason for the flood coming. They were cannibalism, everything had went off its course. That's the reason he brought the flood and got rid of all that. Because all that was happening, those beings and creatures didn't come from heaven. They didn't come from the Most High, the mind of the Most High. It came from the fallen angels being disobedient, and they had took the whole earth and the Most High's creation off course. So that was the purpose of the earth. a purpose of the flood is to destroy all that. And he destroyed it all in the flood.
Yes, sir.
Right.
But all did not die, correct?
Well, man, that's just, you know, that's what I'm saying. When you look at what he said, everything on dry land that died. But you got beings that's in the ocean. That these fallen angels are sleeping with animals in the ocean too. And then you go back and look at history, real history, like the Romans, they worship a god called Dogan. It's half man, half fish. And the story of Rome is that this entity came up out the water and started teaching them all different types of stuff, like how to cultivate the land and all that. But they say it came up out of the sea. Even evolution says that everything came out of the sea, out of the water. You know, all the animals at first they was in the water at first. Then they came out of the water and they evolved into land animals. But all of them was originally out of the water.
So now when I was started out with the role of women in the Bible and how Eve defiled everything, she messed up, and from there she had daughters, correct?
Right. Exactly.
And then by, you know, was those daughters, I don't have the Adam and Eve book. So those daughters helped populate coming from Eve and Adam. So they are the righteous too, correct?
Right. But you got to understand, you got watchers, right? You know what a watch is, right?
No, sir.
Those are angels. Those are created angels. 200 angels that came down were watchers. They supposed to observe mankind. But what man was they supposed to be observing? The man he created on the sixth day. Because they created beings. Just like he did in heaven, he first formed 7 angels, and then he created millions of angels, spoke them into existence. But the 7 that we know that's dealing with Israel is formed. So he came to the earth, did the same thing. He created a man on the 6th day with a woman, and then he formed a man. So these 7 angels over this man and his children that he formed, these watchers is over the created people. But the watchers crossed over and came down and started sleeping with the people that they supposed to be watching. So they don't necessarily have no access to the people that these 7, that long as they righteous, as long as they do what the Most High say, they have no access to them. Because they have nothing to do with them. These 7 angels, the eyes of the Lord are watching over them. The nation of Israel, from Adam all the way to Abraham and all them, these 7 angels are dealing with them. That's who they are. That's who jurisdiction they under. And those other people are under the created angels, the watchers.
If I'm not mistaken, you said there were no female angels. So when they said, let's make man after our own kind,
right,
male and female. So how would the female be made if it's all male angels?
It's the form. The form. The woman got arms and legs and the semen. He says they made in his image. And you understand the creator is shaped like a man. Then when he formed those 7 angels, he formed them same way he is, with the silhouette of a man. So the woman is male, got a silhouette too. She got the features, she got the characteristics, the arms, legs, and feet, just like a man. But the difference is the angels, the angels in heaven are eternal beings. They don't need no woman. That's why ain't no women up there. They don't need no help me. So when he came to the earth and made mankind, man needs to, because he's not celestial. So he gonna die. So he has to have somebody to bring forth his kind after him to keep his lineage going. So that's why he created a woman on the earth to help the man to bring forth seed. She don't even have a seed. It's what you call mitochondria. She's there to receive the seed that the man has. So, like I said, these angels that's why the 200 came to the earth. Because there ain't no women up there. They came to the earth because he made woman upon the earth to help the man in reproducing. And then it's a culture that's surrounding all of it, but it's to reproduce children, bring forth seed, like everything else.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. So all that other stuff comes with the women up there. All that comes from cultures that, don't have heathen cultures. It had nothing to do with the Most High. And they assume. They're assuming there's women up there, but there ain't no women up there.
Yes, and how they describe angels. When you say an angel growing up, they made it seem as if it was a female, because all the pictures they depict with the angels with gowns on, and the big wings, and having someone feel that women could be angels also.
Right. So that's paganism.
So as the body decays and go away, there's a soul in the spirit. So the spirit of a female that passes away, or body decays and leaves, that soul and that spirit, now that spirit is no longer a male or female, or is not even going to be an angel. Or how does that work?
That's exactly what you said. When the soul it ain't got no. I mean, soul, you can't reproduce with a soul. The soul has to have a body. So once you become back to a spirit being, is no male or female. So just like he says, Adam was gathered unto his fathers. It means that the flesh fell off. He died. The flesh went back to where it dusted, back to the dust. But the spirit went back to heaven where his father's at. So that's what that is. It's not, two spirits can't come together and get no seed. They have to have a flesh body, the flesh part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Anybody else got anything? Any more comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
And this is what
I
she
have a
was
question. I have a
What you
question. What happens to the woman's soul when we die?
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's what she was just asking. The soul is different than the flesh part of the body. A soul is a soul. It's not a female or male. It's the flesh part of it. It's the flesh that the flesh. Once you leave the body, you a spirit. Just like he put a spirit in a man, he put a spirit in a woman. Notice he had to. Notice with the flesh part. Notice with the flesh part. The flesh part. Once when he formed Eve, Adam, the flesh part of Adam, he had to separate He had to do a surgery on him. separate the female part from the male part. But the spiritual part of it, he ain't had to separate nothing.
Sorry, but he breathed into the nostrils the breath of life into Adam,
Right.
not Eve.
Right. So you got, like I was saying before, you got to look at that, right? He formed Adam. You know, when you understand what he did, he built it up. He tells you it's in I think it's in the book of Enoch. But he had those 7 angels there when he formed Adam. One of them went to different places and got stuff. One went and got water. One went and got stone. That's where the bones came from. And they brought all that to him. Did he form the man? But he laying there with no breath in him, right?
Correct. Yes, he sent the angels to the 4 corners of the earth to gather
all that stuff he needs. So then he made it into a man. He laying there with no breath in him. Then he breathed in him the breath of life. Well, he took a rib out of Adam and did the same thing, built up the flesh on it and made a woman. Well, he had to breathe into it. Just like he breathed in Adam. That's what brought her to life. See that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so yeah. There's something else I was going to talk about. It slipped my mind. But yeah. So like I was saying before, these are, it ain't gonna this type of conversation, information ain't gonna come out unless questions are asked. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. With back to chapter 3. And you see where, it's not something that we just concocted up in my mind, but it says in Genesis chapter 2, verse 21, this is the making of the woman. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, closed up the flesh, and said thereof. Right? So we see that that's surgery. Just like anesthesia and surgery. He put him to sleep, then he took a rib out. Right? Then he closed it back up. So then it said 22. And the rib, which the Lord God had taken from the man, made he one man and brought her unto the man. So right there, it's telling you what I just said. He took the rib, laid sinew upon it, and all that, and made it and like he did with Adam. And then he had to breathe into it to bring the breath of life. Then he brought her unto Adam. But anyway, 23. Adam said, "This is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man." Now 24. Therefore shall a man. So this Adam is speaking this into existence right here. Just like the Shabbat, just like the 6 days on the earth. Then the 7th day he rested. We're doing that to this day. But it was initiated right here, where Adam initiating this right here. And the man said, "This is not bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken from man." Now here you go. Therefore, he's speaking this into existence. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And so let's see let's go look at an example of that. I'm in Genesis chapter chapter 29, verse 1. Genesis 29:1. We're gonna see the same thing. Adam just brought into existence. In Genesis 29.
Yes, sir.
Verse 1. So then Jacob went out on his journey and came unto the land okay, I'm in the wrong place. Bad. Sorry about that. Tripping. 1 minute. Yeah, it's 24 and 62. My bad. 24 and 62. Genesis 24 and 62. Got it.
Yes.
Says Isaac came from the well. Isaac came from the well of Lahora, and he dwelt in the south country. So this Abraham sent his servant to go get a wife for Isaac. So now they're on their way back, and Isaac says Isaac came from the way of the well of Lahora, from the well in the south country. And then 63, Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the evening tide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lit off her camel, for she had said unto the servant, "What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us?" And the servant said, "It is my master." Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done, right? So they ain't husband and wife yet. He went to go get her to be his wife, but they ain't husband and wife. 67, right here. It's the same thing Adam did when the Lord of hosts brought Eve to him. 67, Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, took Rebekah. See that? And she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So we go back to Genesis chapter 3. That's all Isaac doing is what Adam done. In Genesis chapter 3, let's get it. Read it again. It says, chapter 3, starting at verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and Adam slept. And he took one of his ribs, closed up the flesh instead thereof, and the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, "This is now bone of my bone, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." Now here you go. He brought the woman to him. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife. And she ain't his wife yet. And they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife. He consummated it. They became one flesh. And they was not ashamed, because it was done in righteousness. So they ain't know nothing about no being naked. Because the Most High went through the extremes to put him to sleep, take a rib out. She was made for him. So that was a natural thing to do. So they don't, it's not no sin in it. So there was no reason for them to know they naked. It's when they done with what happened with her and the serpent. And then Adam came behind and defiled himself. Then their eyes was open. They knew they was naked.
So they both was in this trance or whatever when you're reading verse 6, right? When Cheryl asked, was Adam standing there with Eve? And you said, yeah, in verse 6. So they both had to be in this.
No, he ain't no trance. He ain't no trance. He that's his wife. He loved her. So she and then, like I said, you gotta understand, they naive, but he went into her. He saw what she done, but he went into her. Now he know what she know. He got what she received from the serpent, the knowledge of good and evil. He received it by going into her. After that, he seen he seen that she had got defiled, but he still hearkened to her voice, and And listen to what she said. And then he ended up going into her, and that's how his eyes is open. Like I said, it's nothing different than what the angels did. All the plotting and scheming and the handshakes and all the oaths that they did on Mount Hermon, they still was good. It's when they went into that woman. When they went into the woman, they defiled themselves because they don't need no woman. The woman wasn't made or designed for them because they eternal being. So once that act took place, they defiled themselves. They couldn't ascend no more. They couldn't go. They couldn't return to heaven no more. They defiled. So it's the same thing with Adam. She was defiled.
Right, but I was asking, my question was when you were reading verse 6, right? And Cheryl said at that last portion of verse 6, and it says, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And Cheryl asked, was Adam there with her? And you said yes.
Right, he is. Right.
He's in the garden with her, but he's not actually there with her while she's being beguiled.
No, he sees. He see the act. He see the whole thing. Like I was showing you about Dracula. It's the woman that's engaged with the serpent. He got her on the spell, but the woman up in the window watching him, she see him as a hairy beast with tall hairy beast with piercing blue eyes. But the woman down that way yet, she looking at him. He done beguiled her. She see him as a handsome man. She the woman right there under his spell, but he don't have no not notice or understand that the woman that's up in the castle looking down, looking at him. It's when she looked in his eyes. He put that she was in a he hypnotized her. That's what the scriptures talk about, the hissing of the serpent. That's where all this like a lot of people don't understand about Babylon. Babylon is all that, when you talk about the Nebuchadnezzar and the head of gold, that's all talk about a magic and rooms and all that these fallen angels had came and showed them. That's what was going on in Babylon. All of those supernatural, magical, like when even in Egypt, when he throw this serpent, when he throw this staff down, well, the other ones, the other men that was with the Pharaoh throw their staff down and turn it to serpent. So where they get all that from? They got it from the fallen angels. But it's not to the degree that these Lord of hosts and these other angels got. They're limited. Now, like I said, he told serpent, show yourself to yourself how you really look. Can't nobody else do that to Samuel. He told him, he made him, show yourself. That means he got greater power than he got for him to command him to show himself how he really looked. And even in the book of Daniel, Gabriel said, I fought with the prince of, I went to Greece and fought with the prince of Greece, and now and I was held up. He told Daniel that, but Michael had to come help me. So that's telling me these different willing different type of different power. They all ain't got the same power. Most Lord of hosts and these other seven angels got a whole different type of power than they got. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is this something? Yeah. Like I wanted to go to we got a few minutes. I wanted to go to Genesis 9. Yeah, you get a chance, watch that Grand Stoke Dracula, because that's all Dracula is, when you understand the characteristics of Lucifer, that's who that is. He can shapeshift to a bat. He can shapeshift to a wolf. He can turn into a mist. That's Lucifer. And then, like I said, his whole thing is hoodwinking women. That's Lucifer.
Yes, sir. That was just like Eddie Murphy when he played in the that movie as a vampire. He
Right.
he had hypnotized the forgot her name and
Right.
had her,
right.
so she had got underneath a spell.
Right. That's one of his powers. Is hypnosis. Yeah. So I'm in Genesis chapter 9. And it says, it's verse 20, it said, Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. And Shem, Japheth took garments, laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backwards and covered up the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backwards, and they saw not their father's nakedness. So we went over this before. We know that a man's nakedness is his wife, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, 20 says Noah began to be a husbandman in the earth, and he planted a vineyard. So what is that saying?
That he was a tiller of the earth.
Right. The husband is the tiller of the ground. So all he doing is what the Most High formed and created him for. Was to be he got a connection with the earth. What people say a green thumb. So the Most High tells us that when he dealing with Israel, and even with our forefathers before the flood, that the rain, the former rain and the latter rain. The former rain is when they plant, being a tiller of the ground, they plant the seed in the ground, where the former rain comes and water it for it to come forth. Then when the fruit show up on the plants, then to help them ripen, he bring the latter rain. And then that helps them yield the harvest. They yield the harvest for it. So he tells them all through the scriptures when he dealing with them about the grapes and the fruit. He says, I gave you the grapes in honeyfold, the clusters of grapes. That's how grapes come. And then he says, I give you the blood of the grapes, the fruit of the grapes. So what's the fruit of the grapes? What's the blood of the grapes?
The wine.
Wine. So they all of them drinking wine. That's part of what they do. It's part of one of the gifts that he get them. They drink wine. It makes them their spirit. It bring their spirit. It give them relief and enjoyment through the wine. He give them that. The fruit, the blood, the fruit of the wine. When they say that's what he's talking about. So let's look at that. So he says, to show you how they hoodwinked it. So that's what it's saying right here. It says, Noah began to be a husbandman and he planted a vineyard, right? So before the flood, they was making wine. And they was drinking it. They on the boat now. They ain't nowhere to make no grapes and get no wine. So soon as the boat receded and it came off there, he planted a garden to get the wine, a vineyard, get the wine to make his spirit merry and rejoice. All that's tied to when they sacrificed him and after the sacrifice. And then when they was in the land of Israel, after they had the feast and all, after they did the sacrifice and all that, then they came together in merriment. They was drinking the wine. So I'm gonna show you that in a minute. So it says, so he made a vineyard, which is normal, and he drank the wine, which is normal, and he got feeling good. And after you get through, after you eat and all that, and you feeling good, then they go to sleep after rejoicing and praying and thanking the Lord. Then he goes to sleep. So he's not drunk. He's not drunk in his tent. I'm gonna show you that in a minute. So it says, and he planted a vineyard, and then he drank the wine that he made from the grapes, clusters of grapes, was drunken, and he was uncovered. So all he did was like anybody else that drank wine, he got a little buzz or whatever. Then he went to sleep. That's when Japhet came in there while he was asleep and slept with Noah's wife, raped her. That's what happened. So and then he's 22, and Ham the father of Canaan. Canaan ain't get on the boat. This how we are. This how you write the divide there. So where Canaan come from? From them coming together. Japhet sleeping with Noah's wife. When he raped her, he got the seed. So when Noah awoke and knew what he had done, it was a seed came from there. Like when the serpent slept with Eve. He slept with her, but a seed came forth when it happened. So Canaan, 22, Ham, the father of Canaan. See, that Canaan is a seed. They came from it. It said, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers. So this is how we know it's a woman. 23, Shem and Japhet, which we know was Ham and Japhet, took a garment, laid it upon their shoulders, and went backwards. See that? They're going backwards. There's a woman laying there. They don't want they laying there naked. He didn't probably beat her and raped her, and because he left after that. So then they came backwards and covered her up. See what they say? They went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. We know that's a woman. And their faces were backwards. And they saw not the nakedness. So that's the woman. She laying. They saw not her nakedness. They can't want to look upon her second. Her. That's a mother. Or that's Noah's wife. Shem's mother. Right? And then it says, then Noah woke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan. See that? So that's in the womb. Just like the Most High told Eve, 2 seeds in your belly. You already know there was seeds in there. And Sarah, he told Sarah, it's a seed in your belly. In the time of life, 9 months, I'm gonna come back. But he's telling her right there, it's a seed in your stomach. And so right here, Noah woke from his sleep, and 25, he said, cursed be Canaan, talking the seed in her belly. A servant of servants shall he be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem. See that? That's how we know Shem is son. Not Ham and Japhet. He says, and he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem. Canaan shall be his servant. So if Ham slept with her, he would have said right here, he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem and Japhet. But Shem ain't none of his son. He says, and he said, blessed be the Lord God of Shem. And Canaan shall be his servant. And then God said, God said, enlarge Japhet, God shall enlarge Japhet, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And Noah lived after so we see it right there. So anyway, here go the examples of this wine thing. I mean, Ruth and Naomi. Let me get it. Ruth chapter 3. Show you how they hoodwink these the understanding. I mean, Ruth chapter 3. I'm gonna start reading all of it. Well, all of chapter 3 to get the understanding out of it. So chapter 3 says, this is Naomi instructing Ruth how the Israelite culture is when it comes to kinsman redeemer. It says, then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz our kindred, with whose maiden thou was? Behold, he wine now with barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself, therefore, and anoint thee, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known to the man, until he shall have done eating and drinking. See that? After you eat your last meal, they took blood of the wine. They drank that. Most I gave it to them. in abundance. So he says 4, and it shall be when he lie down. See that? He got a buzz. He ate and drunk his wine, and when he and it shall be when he lie down that thou shalt make mark the place where he shall lie, and thou shalt go in and uncover his feet and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. And he said, and she said unto her, all that thou saith unto me, I will do. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. And when Boaz, look at this, when Boaz had eaten and drunk, not drunken, but drunk the wine, and his heart was merry. See that? That's the wine. That's the effects of the wine. That's a gift the Most High gave the Israelites. Noah had missed that. He was doing it before the flood. But now he'd been on the boat all this time. As soon as he got out the boat, he made a vineyard and did right there what Boaz doing. So it says 7. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, his heart was merry, and he went and laid down, just like Noah did, at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, and laid her down. So, and it came to pass at the midday that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. So see, he don't know what to happen. So that's why he's afraid. You don't know if he'd have fired himself like Adam did or not. So then 9 says, and he said, what who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thy handmaiden. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaiden, for thou art a near kinsman. And he said, blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed me kindness in the latter end, that at the beginning, as much as thou hast followed not the young man, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doeth know that thou art a virtuous woman. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part. But if he will not do the part of a kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of a kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth. Lie down until in the morning. And she lay there at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before one could know another. See that? So let's keep them from saying that they had did something. One to know another, and he said, let it be known that the woman came into the floor, and he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee, and hold it. And when she had held it, the measure 6 measures of barley, and laid it on her, and she went into the city. So we see the wine right there. And here goes the last one, right here, 2 Samuel. Okay, let me get it. Second Samuel chapter 6. Just when David brought the ark in. David brought the ark into the Jerusalem. Chapter 6, verse 12. And it was told David, king, saying, the Lord hath blessed the house of Obed and all that pertaineth unto him. Okay, and all that pertaineth unto him. Him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed into the city of David with gladness. And it was so that when they that bear the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fattening. And David danced before the Lord with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod. So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with songs of triumph, songs of a trumpet. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised them in her heart, right? 17. And they brought in the ark of the Lord and set it in his place, and in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings, peace offerings before the Lord. Then, now here you go, right here, 18. And as soon as David had made an end of offering, offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well as to the women, as the men, to everyone a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. That's a goblet, big goblet of wine. See that? So as all the people departed, everyone to himself. So that wine is a gift. It ain't nothing bad. They know drink wine. But they want to make it out of here drunk. All they doing is what forefathers was doing before that. Most High gave them the fruit of the wine, of the vine, to drink. Okay? Any comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Somebody got a comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so we passed 2 hours. All right. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that being said, I'm gonna say shalom. See everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock for Bible class. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.